Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I run the blog lifefromtheviolasection.com where I share my favorite practice tips, general advice, and tech for musicians. Today, I'm super excited to share the new addition to my instrument family, which is this beautiful violin. I'm so excited because I've never had a super nice violin before, and this is just so beautiful and I love the way that it sounds. So I got this from my luthier. He does not exactly want me to put his name on blast because he doesn't really sell instruments, but if you need a luthier in the Richmond, Virginia area, send me a message and I can send you his way, just if you need any luthier work done. But this was kind of a project violin for him over the years, and the tone and the sound was just exactly what I wanted. So it's mine now, and I'm super excited. So this is a Joseph Jusek violin made in 1924 in Prague, which is so exciting because I've never had an instrument with so much history before. And I feel so lucky that this is part of my musical journey now, and I'm part of its musical journey as well. So this was likely made when Joseph Jusek himself was still working in his small violin shop factory. The 1920s, that was a huge factory. It was probably a couple different people making these violins directly based off of his measurements and his descriptions and everything. He likely had a hand in making this, whereas a couple years later, he ended up selling off the company and they became a lot more mass produced, and they're now mass produced today. Since this was made in Prague, it's made with really beautiful wood, and I especially love the back. I love how the grain kind of changes. It's almost iridescent in the light. You can see it there. Sorry, I'm looking in a viewfinder. And front is just so beautiful. So despite how beautiful it looks, what really matters is how it sounds, and I'm so excited to play some violin for you today. Okay, here is a random sampling of music I've been working on with my students, music I just like to play, anything. Just has this really nice sweet sound, and I was testing this between another violin as well, and the other violin was very like bright and direct and kind of punchy. It was really nice as well, but it sounded just a little bit muddy up high. But up here everything seems really well defined. All right, so that's my new violin. I'm so excited to share it with you, and I am having so much fun playing on this, which is the most important part because I wasn't very excited playing my old violin, which I had just gotten for free, and it was just a cheap violin. That was all it was. But this makes me really excited to play and to help grow my skills as a violinist to continue becoming a better and better violin teacher, since viola is my main and primary instrument and still my favorite, of course, but I'm very happy to have this. So, I also wanted to share today some tips on buying an instrument, knowing what to look for and what to listen for. So, I'll just talk about my experience shopping for this violin. I had a definite price range in mind. And if you go into a music store or violin shop and tell them your range, they will often show you things at the top of the range and higher, which is not super helpful. So it may be good if you're going into a shop with like salespeople to undersell how much you're willing to spend, because then they might only show you things that are actually within your real price range. Shopping for instruments is always interesting and it's always different. It's sort of similar to buying a car where you can see what's on the lot on that day and what that salesperson is going to give you for a price and a rate and everything. It could change in the next couple days. It could change in the coming weeks or months. So, instrument shopping is sometimes sort of a long term thing where you know, okay, I'm ready to upgrade, but you should probably take your time looking. Anyway, research what types of instruments you might be able to get with the budget that you have in mind. If you're not happy with the kind of instruments that are coming up in your price range, you may want to reconsider and save some money to get where you want to be in the future. Buying instruments always it gets more and more expensive with inflation and everything else going on, but instruments, as long as you take care of them, will always appreciate in value. So it is always an investment as well. So when I was trying out violins, I was listening just for what I like to hear in my own personal preference as a musician. Something that sounds fairly sweet, something that's well balanced over the instrument. Sorry, my voice is a little tired from teaching all day. So, to test out the sound of the instrument, I played anything and everything on it. All of the violin music that I have been teaching recently, fiddle tunes, other violin music that I like to play for fun or like try to challenge myself to play and work on. I also played some viola music on it too, just because I mean, I know so much viola music in my head already. It's easy to just pick something up and play it somehow on the violin, whether it's a fifth higher or um, just making do without C string, basically. Um, so I played lots of different styles of music in all different places of the violin as well, because on most string instruments, when you get really high up on the lower strings, those will tend to get muddy and you might run into some wolf tone-esque things. Wolf tones are very common on lower string instruments, not as much on upper strings, but you will get some weird, gross tonal spots in many instruments. So, like I said, the other violin that I tried out did get a bit muddy in up in higher positions across the board on all of the strings. This one still sounded clean and clear and crisp up high, which was a big factor because when I play violin, I'm playing in a lot of different positions. I don't want it to only sound good in first position because that cuts me off from a great tone through so much violin music. That was a big thing that I tested just all over, even if they weren't common fingerings that I would do. Just trying different combinations on different strings, making sure that it all sounded nice and even and uniform. I also had to make sure that it physically felt comfortable for me to play. This violin is a little bit heavier than the other one that I was trying. It was a little bit of a noticeable difference, but switching from my viola over to this is still it still feels super super light compared to my viola, and my viola is extra heavy. It's a whole thing. But I did love how light the other one was. This one still is super easy for me to hold and play, and I don't feel any technical or physical issues as I play it, and even for long extended periods of time. So that was important to me as well, since the viola is a very physical instrument. It's large, and for me, it's very heavy. I run into some physical issues when I play the viola. Not, I haven't really run into any with playing the violin. Sometimes I'll grip my bow a little too tightly, but that's mostly on viola where I'm trying to really draw out a sound. Anyway, that's all besides the point. This violin is comfortable for me to play. I can play on one string at a time without any issues. I can also really easily play double stops. And it lends itself nicely to fiddle music, which has been really fun, and I love playing fiddle tunes. So that was really, really great. It sounds really refined for classical music, but it it's set up in such a way that I feel like I can really naturally play fiddle tunes on it, more so than the other violin that I tried. And playing fiddle tunes is how I got my start in string playing. So I definitely want to be able to do that whenever I feel like it. I did have to think long and hard about the price, if I was comfortable paying the amount that I had said that I was, and if I felt that it would be worth it. That is always a big question when you make a big purchase. So I did test this out for an extended period of time, longer than many music stores will let you take things out for. But um, in that time, I was able to see how much joy I get from playing this specific instrument and how much I really love having it in my like instrument family. So just thinking about the potentially having to give it back made me really sad. So that sort of told me, along with how much I enjoy playing it both for feel and especially for sound, those really sealed the deal for me that, okay, this is worth it. And of course, it's going to appreciate in value. I am going to love and take care of it. So, I mean, I've been needing a new violin and it totally fits the bill. So, that's kind of how I came to the conclusion that the price was worth it. It can depend for string instruments how you feel about it. Completely new instruments take time to settle in. The wood has to continue drying. Everything sort of sets over 70 to 100 years. So if you buy a completely new violin, viola, string instrument, it will settle over time and it may sound different from the day it was made versus the day you purchased it versus 10 years from now versus 20 years from now, on and on like that. Just as things adjust, the tone can change. Generally, as long as it's made with good wood and it's set up well, and generally you have to kind of take care of it and adjust things as they settle into place, it can and should sound better after it's settled in. But you may have awkward periods where it doesn't sound the way that you initially bought it as or the way that you want it to sound. So think about the potential, what you want to do with the instrument, what the settling process may be, and take that into account with the price. Because if you can get an older instrument where it's already settled, you already know exactly how it sounds, you can bank on that instrument basically always sounding like that. At least as long as you take care of it, make sure you maintain it, you're not leaving it in weird situations or dropping it, things like that. So, since this was made just over 100 years ago, it has settled and it's always going to sound this way. So, I know, okay, this is absolutely what I'm getting for this price point, and I'm happy with that. It's not going to change. My viola was made in 2007, so it is still absolutely settling in because it's almost 20 years old. So that can continue to change. I feel like my viola has definitely grown with me, and I I lucked out with this viola. It still sounds really good. I think it sounds better than when I bought it, but who knows how it will sound in 5, 10, 15 plus years as it continues to settle and dry and fully like live into its sound. So that is a consideration to make. Has the instrument settled in? Will this sound potentially change? And would it make sense to do repairs as it ages? Because as things settle, sometimes they settle into weird places. You might have to get the neck adjusted and uh, just take it in for checkups. Make sure that it's all good. So think about if the price you're purchasing it for versus the price of maintaining it makes sense. Okay, what else did I think about? So this instrument had really fresh, nice new strings on it when I brought it home to try out. And thankfully, it was the exact strings that I like to use anyway. So, I mean, that was perfect. And I loved how it sounded, but I could tell that they were new strings. And I wanted to be sure I was not only just loving the sound of the new strings. So, we actually took a set of dead strings, same brand and everything, and restrung it with those. And I still loved the sound. Of course, it didn't sound as fresh whereas new, but it still had that same tone and same like lovely quality. Then I put the new strings back on, and it was still the same sound, but just fresher. If you have been a strings player for a while and have changed your strings many times, you probably know what I'm talking about. How new strings just sound fresh. They have almost sort of like a metallic sound. You can like hear the string. Older strings will sound dead, where it takes them a little bit longer to speak, and the sound just isn't quite as vibrant. Even on a really great instrument, you can tell that it doesn't have its full 100% sound quality. So I highly recommend doing that, especially if you're trying out an instrument that has new strings on it. See what some old strings sound like. Try different brands of strings as well. If you are trying out an instrument that has Ava Prazzi's and you usually use Vision, swap them out. See if you like one versus the other, because all different string instruments sort of react differently to different brands of strings, depending on if the sound naturally has a brighter or darker or more direct or slower tone. Different brands of strings will help you get to one like goal that you have for your sound, or they could hurt it depending on the makeup of the instrument. I recorded myself playing this quite a few times and listened back to it. I had others play it so that I could listen to it live in the room. Those things all really helped and helped seal the deal of my decision between one violin or the other, or testing out others if I didn't love either of those. I took both of the two that I tried home and I loved them both. I first loved the other violin more, and then I realized how up high in different positions on all the strings, it just sounded not quite as clear, but this one did, and I ended up just liking this tone a bit more after a few days, and then the rest was history, and this was just the one that I felt was right for me. So those were the main deciding factors and things that I tried when I was shopping for this instrument. There are, of course, other considerations that you can make, but since I just went through this recently, I find that those are the things that really helped the most for me. If you have recently bought a stringed instrument and you did something else or you had other considerations to make, please leave them down in the comments to help others. And I hope that this video is helpful if you are in the market for a new string instrument sometime soon. So please welcome my new violin to my musical instrument family. I'm so excited to have it here and to love it forever, because this violin is so nice and I just love having it. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like these, and I will see you again next Sunday at noon Eastern Time. Thanks for watching.